Hi everyone, this is Reiki Love, Reiki School. How are you today? I'm going to share and present a very important subject called Law of One. And some of you have heard of it, and to some it's completely new idea. And took me for a while whether I would present this content in this format. But now I do feel very confident and comfortable with the level of overcoming the different type of fear within and my love to this universe, this cosmos, and the people who live here and beyond are far greater than a little glitch, a little concern, primarily personal fear, right? To many different things and level. And I'm completely be honest here now. And the content here is something I believe the essence, the fundamental teaching, not necessarily the entire things that I cite, because in the end, you need to follow your own guidance. And when you hear things, idea, and belief, when you resonate with it, that is your truth now. It just doesn't mean it's still the truth in the future or that was in the past. That doesn't matter as long as you feel and you can follow with your inner light, inner guidance, the resonance, the vibration and frequency. Those are the ones that we need to train and reclaim, right? And that will come with a practice. So think of this content as a part of an exercise and take the content what you need now and disregard the rest. Okay. Sacred of One. This is an introduction. Those are the references and the more details in the member portal in reikischool.com. And some of them are my direct experience. Law of One. Law of One is the original and organic unity consciousness. It is a backbone of creation, the order manifest, and the mechanism behind the creation process. So this is why it is found everywhere, both matter, which is to us the biology and anything solid, and the non-matter is, let's say for now, the spirit of something you can see or touch. It is expressed and felt as love. This is including human love and then the greater love called Omni-Love or Namaste, love to all and everything, every being. As it is the absolute highest vibration and the absolute highest frequency that can harmonize all. So love, Omni-Love, is a love to the entire creation. I will represent simply as a circle or a void. Now we are experiencing that something slightly different from the original law of one. One can say distorted or mutated or infected. It's your choice how you want to view this. So if you compare this with the Omni-Love, perhaps you understand deeply in a differently what is the Omni-Love. Described as a circle, an eternal, perpetual flow. This is an open system where is infinite, unlimited amount of energy source, and it's eternal and perpetual. So nothing goes to be wasted, and energy as a whole will remain the same. So form might change, but the energy, the consciousness remain the same. Now, the distorted law of one, let's say, is coming with a judgment, and a few have a power over the mass or resource. So it is a theme of domination and control. It comes with a finite closed circuit. So this is no longer follow the eternal perpetual flow, because something happened intentionally or unconsciously. The results outcome will be the same, will no longer be able to be part of this eternal flow. So just pick this as a symbolic representation. The snake is eating its own tail. It makes sense in terms of the concept and doesn't feel good, isn't it? So it will exhaust itself as it consumes everything within. In order to sustain this form, the one must to supply the energy from elsewhere, outside of that system. So it is no longer self-sufficient system. Now the word sacred was added, I believe, to differentiate it from the distorted teaching or system. Distortion in Law 1 causes division within consciousness. So it is harder to receive, or not at all, the eternal flow, the current consciousness from source, which is the central point of creation. Now, the some may have lost completely, but the most of being is somewhat in between. So it is harder, or you have to make an effort to become the wholeness, to re-establish the connection to the all that it is. So the sacred law of one teaching being available and refer to the original organic unity consciousness from which we all came. The teaching is the following: every manifest has an equal value as God lives within all. This is a very significant statement, especially from this, the perspective from this realm. What does it mean? So that everything, every being are connected to all, the central source of creation. It is a one system. No being or no form of matter can escape from the creative force of all. No matter how you feel the separation, no matter how you believe you are in the finite system, you are still connected and within this system of eternal, perpetual, free energy, source, and consciousness. Law 1 is a rule that everyone agree upon entering this universe, a little bit larger. It's called the time matrix. But for now, we could just say interchangeably the universe. In order to understand the current condition, we need to go over free will, the use of free will. So practicing free will is allowed. You might have heard that everyone has a free will. The thing is missing from that teaching is that, yes, as long as one embraces the law of one, it comes with responsibility and understanding, expanded consciousness of cause and effect. It is not so much that somebody is waiting and judge you in the end, but it is in a physics and built-in creation mechanics. So with or without the intention, or intentional or not, right? The effect, the cause, the impact is already imprinted, so to say, as you make a choice each time. So also it includes your thought. Really? It is just a thought. It's just a word. There's a lot of different teaching. Oh, it is just a thought. It doesn't harm anyone. Or there's also the phrase, a word doesn't hurt anyone. It is not completely correct. Just because you cannot see, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Each thought we hold, each word we speak, each action we choose can move us closer or away from God's source, all that it is. This is something that we need to be taught from the beginning. This is something we need to be aware of while joining here, especially in the realm of duality. The realm that we live upon itself is distorted. It is called dualistic realm. Duality is not necessarily organic. Polarity is, yes. But when we call duality, is a distorted polarity where it is difficult to neutralize two opposing force. It is already that concept of a trinity where we always find the neutral point, or still point of two opposing perspective or energy. Some of mechanics being slightly or severely distorted here, so we'll need to exercise our free will choice more carefully. Because misuse of free will leads to further separation of consciousness from source. Again, this is an illusion, but it's very well-made illusion. So the one being will start to buy into the idea or belief system that a person, he or she, is not worthwhile or is not identifying itself as a God being or direct expression of God or source. It is an illusion, but it happens. It seems to be quite real to that person. So why don't we learn this in a school? Well, we learn a lot of things in a school, but this teaching seems to be omitted. This is because those who share and hold this knowledge how to be hunted, tortured, killed, then the teaching when distorted and associated evidence or tools were concealed or misused. We still see that parts of the story in the different mythology, history, biblical text, and you simply could see the human history. There's a lot of unthinkable events, the unhuman things being occurred. And you must wonder sometime, what happened to these people? Or is this really happened? Is this the whole truth? Is there something missing? Now that some of those people came out and introducing more the idea more in a concrete way, we do have a little bit of understanding of what were the document or the the evidence things are being hidden. So it is called Maharata, CDT-Plates, Emerald Covenant. Come with different words, but it is basically the original teaching. This is a by Guardian Alliance or representative speaker. Before intentional editing and distortion at the hands of fallen angelics and a corrupt human power elite, the teaching of every traditional religious belief system on earth, from Christianity to Buddhism, indigenous tribal oral tradition originally emerged from retranslation of the Maharata text and CDT plates. So for those who, this is the first time hearing foreign angelic human power elites, it's just some simple representation of, let's say, human, which is brought into the idea of co-evolutional agreement, which is original covenant that we enter this universe, and that those that decided not to follow. It's called service to self. Come with a different name in different collectives, but let's say it's gonna put it to the one collective here. So basically, it is a conflict between the one that hold this belief and covenant versus not. And the retranslation attempts being done in throughout the history, beyond the history that we learn in the schools. Right? The Sumerian and the Inca Mayan, we know that those things exist, but filled with mysteries. And then those Native American, and here as a biblical a story comes in, the man known as Jesus is seen and becoming a little bit more the recent history down here. So those are the attempted translation of the original sacred text. They come with a speaker contract. Those are represent to translate, but it's also assigned to be a public speaker. So the one CDT plate translator and speaker was a man historically known as John the Baptist. Other CDT plate speaker and leader of a scene, Christian movement, was Joshua Melchizedek, known as Jesus in the Bible. Other translations of ancient times were dispensed through speakers born into Hindu, Chinese, Tibetan, African, Egyptian, Mayan, Incan, Celtic, Druidic, Grail lines. Yeah, so it's been existed and throughout the history in various different locations in the globe. So let's see from here, this is a little bit more detailed description, more historical documentation. Go back to 800,000 years ago and then down to 246,000 years ago. This is where restatement, Emerald Covenant, meaning like a co-evolutional agreement, was reinstated, meaning that something happened, right, for it to have to reinstate it. And then that's the time that this plate's being manufactured So Maharata text been existed, but the plates been manufactured at this point. It's a long time ago. Now, followed by the translation of the CDT-Plates be done in Sumerian time and in Egyptian, a collective, and let's go down Rama, Vita, which is the Indian, right, in a Hindu origin. And those are the ancient civilization, Inca, Mayan, and the various different location, right, Africa and America, Greece, Rome. And here's where the biblical story starts. I would assume is nothing here, perhaps John the Baptist here, and Joshua 12, known as Jesus, as seen, and it go down to Islamic culture, Druid, Cathar, the southern France, and then more recently the translation being done in contemporary time, which is in English since 1999. So it's really what it's more and more you study about those texts, which include the history, the galactic history, the Star Wars really happening above, below, and right here on Earth. Since it's a creation of the plate, this is a long history of attempted translations, followed by the invasion and infiltration by the opposing force. It is a drama. You could call light versus dark, human versus Anunnaki, whatever the word you use. It is still the opposing forces. It is a drama. It is one of the best made sci-fi films happening interdimensionally. I'm not saying this in a comical way at all, but it is almost like watching a film or wanting to believe this is just complete illusion that I'm not part of. We experience this together in various forms. Natural disaster, a so-called natural disaster, epidemics, terrorism, climate change, Holocaust, war, or perhaps sighting of UFO and angels, right? That's something to ponder. We all experience this collectively. So we kind of have to wonder or ponder. This teaching, it seems to be very benign itself. It's so dangerous. Or can free us? Is this why all those fallen angelic opposing force try to squash them? Is that all? Maybe, mayhaps. But something is hidden here. Something is not completely clear. If you think so, you're probably going somewhere. The CDT-Plates are not only the teaching and text. It is a part of a larger apparatus of the other larger things, including 12 corresponding larger silver discs, which is called signet seals. So these plates come with 12 discs, but it has a paired bigger disc called signet seals. Well, what are those? Well, let's think of a little bit more tangible form. Hopefully many of you know the little bit content of a biblical story. They are the story of Moses and others, talking about golden box, staff, and rod. Now, this goes back to the mystical teaching in Egyptian period of time. You seen those device staff, rod, or ankh. Right? Those are not just a decoration. Like these, the plate is a part of a tool to access a planetary portal. Yeah, it is a kind of like a Stargate story. Whoever has control over the key portals on Earth define our timeline. So one would say this is a timeline war, or it could be Stargate war, or some call Grail, Holy Grail. These are basically saying the same things from the different perspective. So I have a picture here, but I don't want you to think this is how exactly you look like. It's just matter of for you to understand and something to engage together. It's entertain you while you're listening to this story. So just to reorient ourselves, Maharata text. This is a translation of Law of One. It is a rule. It is everything about how this cosmos, universe, and us, and everything else being created, and a little bit more. This is a pretty ancient spiritual science to teach the original law of one, God within, for this time matrix. Principle of teaching is loving source and inalienable spirituality. You cannot separate yourself from spirituality. It is innate, it's default, it's programmed that we are going back to source, become one with God. This is a golden rule, a God within, or inner light, inner crystals. That Buddha within, however the expression, but you will find in each teaching and religion, they talk about something in this line. So why this is relevant now? Why we need to relearn? Well, first we forgot, but it is also the ticket to freedom. Freedom from this confined time matrix. Because the time matrix itself is in disease state. This time matrix needed to heal. Again, time matrix, we could just say universe. It's a little bit bigger than that, but let's say it's our universe included. So this is why there's a Maharata text being handed to everyone who manifests here, and especially for those who has a creative power with source. This is why we have to learn creative mechanics, the system itself and the programs of all manifest. It is not too different from the software engineer. That we need to know the system itself in and out. Because we are within the system, we are creating the software, so the things and energy how to move within the system. So this is the very complicated but incredibly detailed documentation of that, and it also includes the galactic history. Because we didn't spawn from the bacteria here on Earth, we came from somewhere else, right? We will need to, by default, we have to understand where we came from, and that's going to come is a galactic history. And it also includes a roster, which is, who is where, and which planet and where, and how, they became to this now. And this is again multi-dimensional documentation, so it will take time for us to understand. It is okay though, you take only what you need and helpful to heal yourself now. But I just want you to know the depths and greatness of this gift. Continuing is Maharata. The Maharata is the ancient sacred text translation of in ancient text. gifted by the founders' races, includes galactic and intergalactic history record from 950 billion years ago. It originally came with 590 volumes, over 500,000 pages of non-dogmatic, egalitarian, sacred spiritual science. The teaching covers every aspect of mastering personal and cosmic reality. It's just incredible by itself. It's knowing that exists and knowing that teaching is given to this to the all the species and co-creative power being. It just make you feel good. Well, just make me feel great. Eons ago, it was a core, heart, and soul of every religion. And if you seek this from your heart, you will still find it. This is a poem from another beautiful person who teach this, and she kind of be able to pour out each of those teaching from many different religions. So the Christianity, Confucius, to Buddhism, Islam, and everything you could think of. So you're all basically talking about the same thing, God within. Everything has God within. By default, we have to treat each other equally. Now we're going to go to a little bit more about the CDT, because it's kind of a mysterious word. It represents the Cloister Dora plates. So Cloister refers to Melchizedek. Cloister, the God seed, the family of the consciousness, where most of as belong came from. Dora and Teura refer to the different densities. So this is the Dora is density above the sets of dimension 4 to 6, and Teura is even higher density, referring to 7 to 9 dimensions. Just like a Maharata text, the CDT-Plates include the following incredible teaching. Now, I'm not sure this is all, but those are the one being disclosed. Again, the sacred law of one, spiritual studies, chirontic morphogenetic science, which is a matter template. This is a template of everything that comes out from and give the individualization. And 15-dimensional unified field of physics, which we cover in spiritual science series, as well as a primary creation mechanic, we also cover in a spiritual science series. Not everything, but it's enough right now for you to feel familiar with the subject. Advanced Merkaba Kundalini, DNA biogenesis, ascension mechanics, Kathara core template healing is amazing healing modality. Planetary temporal stargate mechanics, pre-ancient history, founders race, and angelic race evolution. This is where the galactic intergalactic history comes in. Higher sensory perception and out-of-body travel. Books of maps and key. Technical manual of the Earth, hold of Amenti stargates. Planetary temporal complex system. There's a lot of mouthful of different teaching and very technical, but it is a spiritual teaching. And as you familiarize yourself with more those teaching, you realize that science and spirituality are one, was never being viewed as a separated, thing, so entity. Not much of a thing happens that those things were the common knowledge before, no longer is a case. There's many different things happen to us, but perhaps one of the main cataclysm that somewhat bring us to the same page. It would be Atlantis time. Even though some of you may never believe these things existed, you could find many places talk about it as a form of the fact or as a form of a mythology. And we have a certain reaction, right? You feel it. Atlantis, thought of Atlantis, the word and event that many of you experience together. This is the second cataclysmic event. It caused a pole shift on Earth. So once those things happen on a planetary grid, because we are intimately connected through law of one, when something happened on our planet, our body, the matter template, also the damage simultaneously, and the basically the same level of impact. So something like this happened, right? It's pole shift is a very significant thing. It wasn't complete pole shift, understand, but it was enough to shift or tilt, to distort the grid. So does our consciousness, and part of a consciousness collectively fragmented. This is why people needed to relearn and re-evolve back to the state since this event. So we were evolved, highly evolved spiritual being. And at this point, well, it's already progressively happening, but anyway, this point already the mark, the date where we are masked to re-evolve back to this state. Now, because of this cataclysm, there's a new system and platform being given because we really needed a more tangible tool for us to relearn and re-evolve back to the wholeness. So this is something I would like to introduce you slowly, or as much as you wish to take. Some of the things being documented, right? For example, this is a Hindu text, Maharata. I know that some people pronounce this much better, but this is a partial translation of actual event. You're just gonna read this. Let's see, temporary vision. The infiltration continues with the 5,900 BC Centaurian War, when the CSB Maharaji Blue Human Guardians intervened directly with the air raids to prevent Draconian and Luciferian forces from claiming world domination. This event is partially documented in the ancient Hindu text of the Maharata. So you could see, you could view yourself, even though this is an artistic representation. I think some of them I do believe it's a very good illustration of what have happened. So you could check this out yourself, or you could ask your friend who are familiar with this subject. Now going back to this Omni-Love, the original teaching, the universe, our system is still this eternal perpetual flow. This system is being originally set up by the founder, creative force of a consciousness collective. We wish to experience life as if never-ending playground. There's a many different mansions of God, many different realms. It's a beautiful design, and you could free to experience in and out of any of those places as much as long as you wish. There's no such a thing in consciousness. There's no fear. There's no consciousness have a lack, because it was being provided. It's an eternal perpetual flow. Everybody knew. There's no need to compete. There's no need to control anything, because we are all of that. So this is a system of original law of one, original creation. Now something happened along the way of the creation, because creation is always trial and error and learning processes. Those are anticipated and expected. There's some distorted form. Some call the virus, some call infection or disease mutation. It's all the same thing. is slightly different. It looked the same at first. Once you get closer, it is filled with fear, competition, and something have to take the power over from someone else in order to just to sustain itself. Right? But this is an extreme comparison. But since we are in a foreign matrix, it is called foreign matrix. That's why we're here, and we are here to learn this system, and then be able to hold the original system and learn from it, experience everything that you need to experience. And then some call this is a path of joy, and this is a path of sorrow. Because of the way the system set up, it is all around, and then this is seem to be finite as a player within, but this is also eternal. You understand? This will continue forever. And as well as this one, you have a choice which consciousness you wish to align to. This or this, this or this. Again, choice is yours. Omni-Love or fear. For member, I will present some of the content that is listed below. We're going to cover the Sacred Love One spiritual study, which is the foundation of uphold the law of one. And I will go through very in detail because it is very practical and it's happening every day, every moment. This is far more important than learning the following things. However, people wish to learn some of the knowledge required to deepen our understanding of what's happening now. So I already created the foundation or background, at least the background, so that we could speak the similar language. The 15-dimensional unified field of physics, primary creation mechanics, were taught in the form of spiritual science series. And I will going to cover planetary template circuit mechanics, pre-ancient history, founder race, and angelic race evolution is very important. So I'm going to cover this next. And love to hear your feedback. If you have something in particular where you wish to learn, I would definitely open to that suggestion. Thank you so much for coming and taking care of yourself and helping yourself to re-evolve back to wholeness. Till then, be well and love and joy. Much blessing. Bye now.